Okay, let's begin by offering our respects to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, so welcome to our Damodar special class. Thank you all very much for being here. Before we begin with the Damodar Leela, we need to understand a little bit about the book from which we are going to read this Leela. So this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam was composed by Srila Vyasadeva. Now Vyasadeva has composed a lot of literature. What are some of the things that Srila Vyasadeva composed? Can anyone say?
The Mahabharata.
The Mahabharata, yes. What else?
Bhagavad Gita
Bhagavad Gita, obviously.
Yes, Bhagavad Gita is part of
is
the
inside
Mahabharata,
the
so it comes inside
Mahabharata.
that. Yes. What else?
The Upanishads,
The Upanishads, yes. How many Upanishads do we have?
18.
No, not 18. Something else is 18, but not the Upanishads. What's that?
Vedas?
The Vedas. How many Vedas did he compose?
4.
Four
Four.
Vedas. Yes, 4 Vedas, Mahabharata, Upanishads, and anything else? Puranas. How many Puranas?
Puranas. 18.
18.
18 Puranas. And how many Upanishads?
108.
108. Yes, 108 Upanishads. So he composed a lot of literature. Yes. Now, after he had composed 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, Itihasas like the Mahabharata, and 17 Puranas, he was feeling dissatisfied. He felt incomplete. He felt as though something is missing. He was not feeling very content. And usually when one composes such great Vedic literature, one should feel very happy, very content, isn't it? But even though he had composed so much literature, he was feeling dissatisfied. So therefore, as a good disciple should do, he consulted with his spiritual master as to why he is feeling unhappy, why he is not feeling complete happiness, why he feels incomplete. So he consults with his spiritual master. Now, who is the spiritual master of Srila Vyasadeva? Srila Vyasadev's spiritual master was our celestial spaceman. Who is that? Who is the celestial spaceman?
Oh, was it Narad Muni?
Narada
Yes.
Muni.
Yes, Narada Muni. So Srila Vyasadeva consults his spiritual master Narada Muni as to why he is feeling unhappy even though he has composed so much literature, transcendental literature, not ordinary literature, but transcendental literature. So then Narada Muni tells him that he has forgotten to glorify God and the devotees of the Lord. He has forgotten to glorify the Lord and his pastimes. So when we talk about the Lord and his pastimes and his leelas, obviously there includes the pastimes of the Lord with his devotees, with his close associates, with his eternal associates. So therefore, upon the advice of Narada Muni, then he composed his final masterpiece, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why the Srimad Bhagavatam is that much more special. Yes, because it's his final masterpiece, which he composed upon the advice of Narada Muni. Now, the Srimad Bhagavatam is a voluminous literature. It is divided into cantos. So there are 12 cantos, within which there are 335 chapters and a total of 18,000 verses, 18,000 shlokas. The Srimad Bhagavatam is called as a ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. Now, if all Vedic knowledge is compared to a tree, the Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the fruit of that tree. Why? Because the fruit is the sweetest part of the tree. Although the source of the tree is the seed, the roots, and then we have the trunks and the branches, etc. Still, the fruit is the sweetest part, which is relished by everyone. So therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is called as a ripened fruit, not even the kacha fruit, not even the green, the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. It is also called as the cream of all Vedic knowledge. It is considered to be the commentary of Vyasadeva on all Vedic literature. It is also called as the Amala Purana. The word Amala means spotless. It is called as a spotless Purana because in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no tinge of material religiosity. It's all got to do with pure bhakti, pure devotional service. Therefore, it is called as the Amala Purana or the spotless Purana. There is no karma description in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. It is also called as the Mahapurana, the Purana of all the Puranas, the greatest Purana. And it is also called as the Paramahamsa Samhita. Samhita means literature, and the word Paramahamsa is used to describe the topmost transcendentalists. Now, Hamsas, the word Hamsa in Sanskrit actually means a swan, and the swans the devotees are compared to swans because the swans have this ability, if you give them milk and water mixed to drink, they have the ability to suck only the milk and not the water. So a devotee only sees the good and he doesn't see the bad. Even when they associate with people, they see only the good qualities of the people. They do not see the bad qualities of the people. That's one of the qualities of a devotee. So Hamsa means a devotee. Paramahamsa means topmost. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is called as a Paramahamsa Samhita, means it is that literature which is meant for the topmost transcendentalists, or even the topmost transcendentalists relish this literature greatly. So therefore it is called as the Paramahamsa Samhita. Now, actually, although Srila Vyasadeva composed the Srimad Bhagavatam, the knowledge is originally received. If you read the Srimad Bhagavatam initial sections, we will see how this knowledge actually was originally passed down from Krishna to Lord Brahma at the dawn of creation. And it was passed down via the transcendental sound vibration of Krishna's flute. And then Lord Brahma, he spoke this knowledge to his son, Narada Muni. Narada Muni gave this knowledge to his disciple, Srila Vyasadeva. And then Vyasadeva spoke it to his son, Sukadeva Goswami. Now, Sukadeva Goswami spoke this knowledge to Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was the grandson of Arjuna from the Mahabharata and the son of Abhimanyu. And Maharaj Parikshit was crowned king. He was the king of the planet, and he was cursed to die within 7 days. Now, when he knows that he's going to die within 7 days, he goes in search of the absolute truth, and he has this question in his heart. His burning question is, what is the duty of a person in general, and especially of a dying man? Because he knows he's going to die in 7 days. So he's going in search, and he comes across Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami is only 16 years old, but he's a fully self-realized soul. So therefore, he asks this question to Sukadeva Goswami, and then Sukadeva Goswami sits down and he narrates the Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit in 7 days. And in this audience, you can see when he spoke, there were many great sages who came to hear the Bhagavatam from the lotus lips of Sukadeva Goswami. In the audience, you can spot the Narada Muni is there, and Vyasadeva also was in the audience, and there were other very great sages, very, very renowned sages who gathered in that place on the banks of the river Ganges to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami. Now, amongst these sages who heard this katha, this Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami, was a person called Sutta Goswami. And then Sutta Goswami spoke this knowledge to the sages who had gathered, and out of curiosity, they asked him, you were in the audience when Sukadeva Goswami spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. So please tell us, what did you hear? So then in a place called Naimisharanya, this Bhagavatam was again spoken by Sutta Goswami to the sages of Naimisharanya. Okay, so like this, the knowledge has been passed down. Now, previously, this knowledge was passed down only orally. It was only spoken. There were no books. It was not written down because people in the previous ages were greatly intelligent. Okay, so they would remember whatever knowledge was passed down, they would remember it. But Srila Vyasa, okay, let's read this translation. Okay, we need someone to read. Who can read today?
I can
One person
volunteer.
can read everything. Krishna Kumar, you can read?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Krishna Kumar. Can you read the translation?
Translation. Sukadeva Goswami said, then, O king, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength, and memory will all diminish day by day because of the powerful influence of the age of Kali.
So in the Kali Yuga, Sukadeva Goswami says he's making a prediction, because this was 5,000 years ago. He's making a prediction that these 8 items will diminish day by day because of the influence of Kali Yuga. What are these 8 things? Religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life. So that's why our ancestors lived longer. And with as Kali Yuga advances, even the average human life is reducing. So duration of life, physical strength will reduce, and memory also will reduce. So that's why, although in Kali Yuga we may boast of having a lot of gadgets with GBs and TBs, and I don't know what not, but still at the end of the day, we tend to forget the passwords, isn't it? So memory is also diminishing day by day in the age of Kali. So therefore, for the benefit of the people of Kali Yuga, which is us, Srila Vyasadeva put all literature in writing, and he wrote them on palm leaves. Yes, like this. So even now, in some ancient temples, you will find some literature stored in ancient temples, and sometimes if you ask the pujari, he may even show it to you. Okay, so these are still around in some temples. But then, right now, if we want to have access to this great literature, we don't have to go to the temples and ask for those leaves anymore. We have them available in book format in over 90 languages all over the world. Thanks to the tireless efforts of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Every day, he would wake up at 1 a.m. and translate the books. He would use the commentaries of the previous acharyas, and then he compiled the translations of this great literature for us, for our benefit. Okay, so this literature that is spoken, see, when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we will see many times Sukadeva Goswami said, or Maharaj Parikshit asked, because again there are questions that Maharaj Parikshit asks to Sukadeva Goswami. So this conversation between the two, these two great personalities are even more special because both of them received the mercy of the Lord when they were in the wombs of their mothers. Maharaj Parikshit, when he was in the womb of his mother, Ashwadhama had sent the Brahmastra, a powerful weapon, to kill him in the womb. So Krishna entered the womb of Uttara and saved Maharaj Parikshit. So Maharaj Parikshit is that personality who had the personal darshan of Krishna when he was in the womb of his mother itself. And Vyasadev, Sukadeva Goswami, when he was in the womb of his mother, he was already a self-realized soul. In the womb of his mother itself, he was self-realized. And therefore, he refused to come out of the womb because he was afraid that when I come out of the womb of my mother, then I will fall into Maya. And I don't want to fall into Maya. Therefore, for 16 years, 16 years, he stayed in the womb of his mother and he refused to come out. Then Vyasadev requested Krishna to please come and assure Sukadeva Goswami that he would not fall into Maya. Somehow or the other convinced him to please come out of the womb. So therefore then Krishna went to the cottage, to the ashram of Srila Vyasadeva, and he promised Sukadeva Goswami, you please come out. I promise you that you will not fall into Maya. And only then did Sukadeva Goswami come out of the womb of his mother. So both these personalities, one has seen and one has heard Krishna personally when they were in the wombs of their mothers itself. So that makes the Srimad Bhagavatam even more special. So this Damodar Leela, which we are going to discuss about today, has been spoken by Sukadeva Goswami after Maharaj Parikshit asks him a question. Let's read the question that he has.
One thing I can ask before,
Yes.
suppose I'll forget one
Yes.
question. This is the Gita is the part of this Bhagavatam, no?
No, Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is Itihasa, which was composed separately. The Gita
Okay,
doesn't.
it was a part of Mahabharata. It is not part of this one.
No, the Bhagavad
Okay.
Gita is, the Bhagavad Gita is the manual of life. The Bhagavad Gita has exactly that information which we need to know to go back to Godhead at the end of this lifetime. But the Bhagavatam goes into great details of Krishna Leela. It also describes creation, how did creation happen, all the expansions, all the avatars of Krishna, they were all foretold by Vyasadeva. Even, Gautam Buddha appeared some 2000 years back. But 5,000 years back, Vyasadeva wrote in the Bhagavatam that Gautam Buddha will appear in such a place. His parents his father's name would be so and so, his mother's name would be so and so. This is what he's going to do. And even the Kalki avatar is foretold by Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So all the avatars are described in great detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the activities of Krishna are also described from his appearance to disappearance. All those descriptions are there in the Bhagavatam. All that is not there in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is like a manual that tells us in short, because remember it is spoken on the battlefield. So Krishna has given him just that information which he needs to know to go back to the spiritual world at the end of that lifetime. But Bhagavatam goes into great detail. That's why it is.
So Mahabharata was not described in the Bhagavatam anywhere.
Mahabharata, no. Some sections are there. Some sections which if Sukadeva Goswami has asked a particular question, then some sections of the Mahabharata are there in the Bhagavatam, but not the entire Mahabharata.
And then that means the Krishna has delivered two messages. That one is with this flute to the Brahma of this Bhagavatam, and one is that Mahabharata to the sun.
What Krishna delivered to Brahma was actually only 4 shlokas. Okay, only 4. They are called as a 4 nutshell verses because Brahma is the most intelligent personality. He is the most intelligent person in the universe. So all that Brahma requires to understand all Vedic knowledge is just the 4 shlokas. Then those 4 shlokas became the 4 Vedas, and then the whole knowledge has been expanded in the disciplic succession. Okay, so it's not that he spoke to him 18,000 verses and then Mahabharat has 100,000 verses, 1 lakh verses, shlokas in the Mahabharat. So it's not that all these verses were spoken. The knowledge was given to Lord Brahma via the sound vibration of Krishna's flute.
Sound
But that's
vibration
all
flute.
that Brahma requires to understand. Okay, but the
Okay.
other things have been expanded.
Okay. Okay. That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So even
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita is expanded, or the Bhagavad Gita is himself narrated, right?
Yeah, Bhagavad Gita
To
was spoken by Krishna himself. Personally, those slokas, that is a conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. That was spoken by Krishna himself.
all the
Right?
verses.
So when I say
Okay,
expanded, it is not expanded by ordinary people. It is expanded by Lord Brahma from when he spoke it to Narada, when Narada spoke it to Vyasadeva, like that, by these exalted personalities.
Hmm.
So initially it was to sun god.
The Bhagavad Gita as such, yes, from Krishna, it came to Sun God. That disciplic
God.
succession is given in the
And
introduction.
then it is to Arjuna.
No,
Directly spoken
from
by the Krishna.
no, it was re-spoken. After Sun God, it went to many people, right? And then the continuity was lost. Therefore, Krishna
Yes.
re-spoke it to Arjuna.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling 2 times the Krishna. One is to sun directly, and one is to Arjuna directly.
Yes, exactly. Yes, but that is not the only Gita. There are other Gitas also. There is Gopi Gita, there is Uddhava Gita that Krishna has spoken to Uddhava. So there are other Gitas as well. But Bhagavad Gita, that knowledge is, yes. Because Krishna
Okay.
also spoke to Uddhava just before Krishna left the planet.
Mhm.
There is a conversation between Krishna and Uddhava. Okay, and that so even materially, the last statement of a dying man is considered to be very important. No? The dying man, what did he say? What were his last words? What was his desire? Or he leaves a will behind. So that is very important. So like that, the Uddhava Gita is considered to be the departing message of Krishna to Uddhava. So that is called as Uddhava Gita. That is also there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So
Mhm.
like that we
Who
have.
is Uddhava?
Okay.
Sorry,
Who's Uddhava? Who's Uddhava?
Uddhava is Krishna's close associate and cousin.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so let us read this question that Maharaj Parikshit asked to Sukadeva Goswami, and in answer to this question only, the Damodar Leela was spoken by him. So let us read the question.
Translation. I'll read the sloka also.
No, only the translation will do.
Translation. Having heard of the great fortune of Mother Yashoda, Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, O learned Brahmana, Mother Yashoda's breast milk was sucked by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What past auspicious activities did she and Nanda Maharaja perform to achieve such perfection in ecstatic love?
So Maharaj Parikshit wants to know how come Yashoda has got that special blessing that Krishna has sucked her milk. What is it? How come she is so exalted? Because what Yashoda got, nobody else has got. Even Devaki did not get to enjoy the nectar that Yashoda has got. And Devaki has performed a lot of tapasya, a lot of austerity in her previous lifetime to get Krishna as her son. Yes, but what Yashoda has, even Devaki does not have. Because by the time Krishna went back to Devaki, he was already an adolescent. Yes, so Devaki did not enjoy the childhood pastimes that Yashoda was able to enjoy. That is exclusively only for Yashoda. That nectar only Yashoda could enjoy. So therefore he wants to know. And in reply to this, then he speaks the Damodar Leela. So today we will be reading from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 9. The chapter is titled Mother Yashoda Binds Lord Krishna. So the word Damodar, the word Dam means rope and Udara means belly. So Damodar means that personality who was tied by the rope of Yashoda's love around his waist, around his belly. Now, Damodar Leela is the most important festival in the Vaishnava calendar. It is the only festival that is celebrated for one whole month. Even Janmashtami, the appearance of Lord Krishna, we celebrate only for one day, isn't it? So all Damodar is the only festival that is celebrated for one whole month by the Vaishnavas. It is the crest jewel of all the Vatsalya pastimes of Krishna. Vatsalya, so Krishna performs pastimes in so many different rasas. Yes, so Vatsalya rasa is when a devotee associates with the Lord as a parent. So this is the Vatsalya Leela, and of all the Vatsalya Leelas, this Damodar Leela is the crest jewel of all those pastimes. That's why this is even more special. Okay, so let's read. We are going to read only the translations, and then during the month, you can go to this chapter, Canto 10, chapter number 9 in your Veda base, and you can read with the shlokas and the translations and the purports. It's very, very nectarian and very auspicious to read this during the month of Damodar. Okay, let's read.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued. One day when Mother Yashoda saw that all the maidservants were engaged in other household affairs, she personally began to churn the yogurt. While churning, she remembered the childish activities of Krishna, and in her own way, she composed songs and enjoyed singing to herself about all those activities.
Okay, so Sukadeva Goswami is speaking this to whom?
Parikshit.
Yes, Maharaj Parikshit. So what is he saying? He's saying that Mother Yashoda saw that all the maid servants, now Yashoda is the queen of Vrindavan, and although she is the queen, she is personally churning yogurt for Krishna. Now, one question one may ask, somebody may ask, why is she personally churning yogurt? She has so many maid servants. She is the queen, but she is personally churning. The reason why she is personally churning is because Krishna is stealing butter from the neighbors' houses. And people are coming and complaining to Yashoda that, you know, your son, he comes to our house and he's stealing yogurt, he's stealing butter. So therefore, she's personally churning so that she makes sure that the yogurt she's personally churning the yogurt to make sure that the butter is delicious, is tasty, so that if Krishna eats tasty butter in the house, then he will not go and rob butter from the neighbors' houses. So therefore, out of motherly love, she is personally churning the yogurt to make butter for Krishna. Now, while churning, she's remembering the childish pastimes of Krishna. In her own way, she composed songs. So the description given here is that she has composed songs to remember the childish pastimes of Krishna. Now, when we compose, when we have something in song format, it's easy for us to remember. That's why children are also taught the alphabet, A, B, C, D in a rhyme, in the form of a nursery rhyme, so that it's easy for the children to remember it. So when something is in a song format, it is easy for us to remember. And Yashoda, out of her motherly love, she does not want to forget any of the childish activities of Krishna. So she has composed those activities of Krishna in song format, and she's singing them as she is churning the yogurt. So we see how here Mother Yashoda is engaging physically, mentally, and intellectually in the activities of Krishna. Yesterday we saw in our Gita class, how we have to physically, intellectually, and mentally absorb ourselves in Krishna. And that's exactly what she is doing, because when she's churning yogurt, she's physically engaging herself. And to compose the songs, certain intelligence is required. It's not an ordinary thing to be able to compose songs. So intellectually also she is dedicating her activity to Krishna, and she's singing it to herself. So when mentally she has absorbed herself in the activities of Krishna. Okay, let's go to the next.
Dressed in a saffron yellow sari with a belt tied about her full hips, Mother Yashoda pulled on the churning lobe, laboring considerably, her bangles and earrings moving and vibrating, and her whole body shaking. Because of her intense love for a child, her breasts were wet with milk. Her face, with its very beautiful eyebrows, was wet with perspiration, and malati flowers were falling from her hair.
So see, such great description. We know the color of the sari that she was wearing. We know the kind of flowers she had in her hair. That is the beauty of our literature. All the details are given to us. Okay, so here in Shloka 3, we see the description of Mother Yashoda.
While Mother Yashoda was churning butter, Lord Krishna, desiring to drink the milk of her breast, appeared before her. And in order to increase her transcendental pressure, he caught hold of the churning rod and began to prevent her from churning.
So now see, this was morning time. Krishna was still sleeping when Yashoda was churning the yogurt to make the butter. And because of love for her son, milk is flowing from her breast. We saw in Shloka 3, we read that. So now Krishna is reciprocating to the love of Yashoda. Krishna, we know that Krishna reciprocates to the love of his devotees. So in order to reciprocate the love that Yashoda is feeling for her son, now he got up and he wants to drink the milk of Yashoda. And he's also indicating to us, so he's catching the churning rod and he prevented her from churning. So Krishna is indicating to Yashoda that her first business is to attend to him, is to allow him to drink her milk. That's what he's indicating to her. So let's see what happens.
Mother Yashoda then embraced Krishna, allowed him to sit down on her lap, and began to look upon the face of the Lord with great love and affection. Because of her intense affection, milk was flowing from her breast. But when she saw that the milk pan on the oven was boiling over, she immediately left her son to take care of the overflowing milk. Although the child was not yet fully satisfied with drinking the milk of his mother's breast.
Okay, so now Krishna is drinking the milk of his mother, but now suddenly she sees, now she has kept milk on the gas, on the oven, and that milk is rising and was about to boil over or was boiling over, and immediately she puts Krishna down and she rushes to attend to the milk that is overflowing. Now this milk that Mother Yashoda uses to make butter for Krishna is this milk comes from some very special cows. Okay, now Nanda Maharaj, he had 900,000 or 9 lakh cows. And out of those 9 lakh cows, there were 8 cows which were fed with a very, very special grass. That grass was actually watered with the milk of some other special cows. So this grass is called as a Padma Gandha because it had a nice aroma of lotus, nice lotus aroma they had. So they were called as the Padma Gandha. They were fed with this special grass. These 8 cows were fed with a special grass. So that milk that came from those 8 cows was had a very nice aroma and nice taste. So it was milk from these cows, these special 8 cows, that was churned and used to make butter for Krishna. So it was this milk that was boiling over. So what did Yashoda do? She put Krishna down and she went to attend to that milk which was boiling on the gas. Now, see, at that point, Mother Yashoda had 2 choices, isn't it? She could have let the milk boil over and continue to feed Krishna. Or the other option, put Krishna down and attend to the boiling milk. Now, obviously, she chose the second option. Now, let's analyze a question. Was Mother Yashoda unjust when she left her son to take care of the overflowing milk? What do you think?
No.
She was not unjust?
She was unjust because she could take along with her to Krishna as it is position.
Yeah, no, if I were a general mother, I would not want my kid anywhere near fire. So I'd rather put him down and then come back and feed him later.
Okay, so why couldn't she let Krishna drink the milk and let the milk boil over? Because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. Who more has she attained other than Krishna?
Well, I don't think Mother Yashoda at that time knew that, like, she considered Krishna as her general child, right? I don't think she considered him as a godhead.
Yes, that is correct.
because
Yashoda
Maya,
doesn't
due to
know that
Maya.
Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. For Yashoda is just my son. Okay, but still, what's more important for a mother than her son?
Milk, how's mother can spoil the milk?
I feel the milk was also for Krishna's. Probably that's why she didn't want it to overflow.
Yes,
Of
the
course.
milk also was for Krishna, isn't it? That milk which was on the gas is not for her own sense gratification. It's not that milk is for her own enjoyment. So Srila Prabhupada actually answers, if you read the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada answers this question.
Means
Let us
she was knowing that this milk is boiling. That's why she's having the milk from the breast. These things she was knowing before. No.
No, the milk was on the gas, okay, and
Yeah.
she's turning yogurt. Now Krishna has just got up and come. It's morning time, so
Yeah.
Krishna just
Yeah.
got up and came. Now she doesn't know when Krishna is going to get up, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Krishna just got
Exactly.
up. Okay, so it happened like that. Okay, let's read the purport. Let's see what Prabhupada writes.
Sometimes one must take care of more than one item of important business for the same purpose. Therefore, Mother Yashoda was not unjust when she left her son to take care of the overflowing milk. On the platform of love and affection, it is the duty of the devotee to do one thing first and other things later. Proper intuition by which to do this is given by Krishna.
Okay, so what Prabhupada writes is, sometimes, even in our spiritual life, in our Krishna consciousness, we may have to choose one service over another service. So sometimes there are like, okay, we want you to give a class. At the same time, we want you to attend to the deities, or we want you to cook for the Janmashtami feast. At the same time, we want you to. So there are different services, but we have to choose one because we cannot expand ourselves like Krishna. We don't have that potency. So we can only do one service at a time. But if everything is for Krishna consciousness, then we have to make a choice. And it doesn't matter because anyway, the choice that we make is between service to Krishna only. So in the case of Yashoda, also that milk was for Krishna. It's not for her own enjoyment. It's not for her own sense gratification. So it's not that she was unjust. She made a choice, but either way, it was for Krishna's pleasure. So there is this verse in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 10 where Krishna says, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So Krishna gives us intelligence. When we serve the Lord, then Krishna gives us the intelligence about what we should choose. He gives us the understanding. Okay, so Krishna guides us what we should do first and what we should do later on the platform of absolute truth. Okay. So let's continue with our Leela.
Text 6. Being very angry and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, Krishna, with false tears in his eyes, broke the container of yogurt with a piece of stone. Then he entered a room and began to eat freshly churned butter in a solitary place.
So now Krishna is very angry. He has not liked it at all that Yashoda has put him down and she has gone to attend to the boiling milk. So he's very angry. He's biting his lips out of anger. And he also has tears in his eyes, but those tears are false tears. What does he do? Now he's doing a lot of nonsense. He broke the container of yogurt with a piece of stone. He enters a room and he begins to eat that butter in a solitary place. Okay, so Krishna is not happy about the choice that Yashoda has made. Now you see, we read in the Bhagavad Gita, no, that Kama, Krodha, Lobha. We should stay away from these three things. What is Kama? Greed. Kama is a desire for sense gratification. Lobha is greed. And Krodha is anger. But if you see here, text 4, 5, and 6. Krishna is showing Kama, Krodha and Lobha. In text 4, what is he showing?
Calm.
Calm,
Desire.
because he desires to drink the milk. Okay.
Yeah.
Then in text 5,
Krodha.
Lobe.
low,
Because of the
yes, low, because he wants more milk. So he's greedy, he
Yeah.
wants more. And in 6, he is showing
Krodh.
Krodh, because now he is very angry. Okay, but of course, this is transcendental. We will discuss it more at the end of the Leela, just for your information for now. Okay, let's continue. Text 7.
Mother Yashoda, after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning spot. And when she saw that the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was the work of Krishna.
So now Yashoda has come back after attending to the milk that was boiling in the oven, and then she sees that, she sees all these pots broken, everything is in a mess, and now she knows that it is the work of Krishna. Let's see what happens next.
Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind.
So now Krishna, what is he doing? He's on this upside down wooden mortar, and not only is he taking this yogurt, he is also feeding it to the monkeys. So Yashoda sees what is going on. Now these monkeys are of course so very delighted. Even now when you go to Vrindavan, Vrindavan is full of monkeys. Yes, and we have to be very careful because they are ready to take away so many things from you. So these Vrindavan monkeys are world famous. Okay, so he's feeding butter to these monkeys, and Yashoda, now she has prepared so much butter with so much care, and he's feeding them to the monkeys. So she's approaching him from behind. Now these monkeys are not ordinary monkeys. These monkeys are actually the monkeys that have reincarnated from Ram Leela. Monkeys had helped Lord Ramachandra build the bridge across the ocean so that Lord Ram can go across and get Sita back from Ravan. So now Krishna is reciprocating the love of the monkeys in the Dwapara Yuga. Okay, so because Lord Ramachandra had at that time he was in the forest, how was reciprocation was not so much, it didn't happen at that time. So now the Lord is reciprocating with that love. So these are the monkeys that have reincarnated from Ram Leela. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, I think that's it. Question. How did Yashoda know where Krishna is? Because she goes to the exact spot and she sees that Krishna is not there. Then immediately she knows where is Krishna and she goes to this place where now he is sitting on this wooden mortar. So how does Yashoda know where Krishna has gone? Because it's a big house.
Because that's the place where they would go keep the butter, basically.
Okay, any
They
other
stored
guesses? Any other
Yeah, I
guesses?
think the butter which was freshly being churned by Yashoda, pot was broken and the yogurt was missing. So Yashoda knows that his son is not fully hunger free, and he will go and look for some other place where there is more yogurt.
Okay. Any other answers?
Or maybe he left the footsteps with the yogurt.
Yes, she traced the footsteps of Krishna because he has broken the yogurt there also, and now everything's a mess, and then he walks, right? So she's tracing the butter smeared footsteps of Krishna, and that's what leads her to Krishna's current location. Okay. Text 9.
When Lord Sri Krishna saw his mother, stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar and began to flee as if very much afraid. All the yogis tried to capture him as a Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances. They failed to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead, Krishna, to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him.
So see, the yogis cannot capture Krishna as Paramatma by meditation. So it's not capturing Krishna is no easy task. Even great yogis, even after doing so much of tapasya, they cannot capture Krishna. But Yashoda is thinking that Krishna is my son. For Yashoda, because she is covered by the Yoga Maya potency. So we discussed, no, Yoga. There are two Mayas, Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. Yoga Maya helps Krishna, helps the devotees go closer to Krishna because he covers his Godhead. Okay, so they don't know that Krishna is God. Therefore, they are able to share intimate pastimes with Krishna. If Yashoda knows that, oh, my Krishna is actually, he's a supreme personality of Godhead, immediately she will have the mood of reverence and awe and respect. And Krishna and Yashoda will not be able to enjoy these intimate pastimes of a mother and a son. So Yashoda is covered by the Yoga Maya potency of Krishna. And so she thinks that this is my son, this is not God. So she actually prays to Lord Vishnu. Oh, Lord Vishnu, please protect my son from the demons that are coming to kill him, from all these inauspicious activities, because demon after demon they were being sent by Kamsa to kill him, right? So, okay, so what do we see in text 9? Even the yogis failed to capture him, but Yashoda, thinking that Krishna is her son, began following Krishna to catch him. Okay, let's go to text 10.
While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist, overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose, and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. Yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna.
So now she has finally managed to capture Krishna. Krishna has allowed that she can catch him. The Shastras describe that actually Krishna can go faster than the mind. That's how fast Krishna can move. Faster than the mind, faster than the wind. But here, Yashoda has caught Krishna. Next.
When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying, his tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes. And as he rubbed his eyes with his hand, he smeared the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him.
So see, immediately Krishna has admitted that he is an offender. So he is not saying that he has not done any nonsense. He admits immediately that he is the offender. And now he is crying. He is crying so that he is liberated, because now Yashoda has caught him. And now he is crying so that she can leave him. Now, one of Krishna's names is Mukunda. Mukunda means he is the giver of liberation. So he is the giver of liberation. And now he is crying so that Mother Yashoda can liberate him, can leave him. Okay. So we mentioned Uddhava Gita, right? See, this is a picture from Uddhava Gita where Krishna is speaking to Uddhava. And Krishna says the same thing to Uddhava. Let's read the translation.
My dear Uddhava, the unalloyed devotional service rendered to me by my devotees bring me under their control. I cannot be thus controlled by those engaged in mystic yoga, Sankhya philosophy, pious work, Vedic study, austerity, or renunciation.
So see, how Yashoda was able to capture Krishna is because she has rendered unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. That's the reason why she has been able to capture Krishna. Krishna tells Uddhava that I cannot be controlled by mystic yoga. One may have mystic powers, one may do Ashtanga yoga. Krishna cannot be captured by Krishna. Sankhya philosophy, we have done Sankhya philosophy in chapter 2, the description, the distinction, the study of the difference between the matter and spirit. So Sankhya philosophy, by doing pious work, one may do some social service or some good karmas. Even by doing good karmas, we cannot capture Krishna. Vedic study, one may be a great Sanskrit scholar, one may have studied all the literatures and may be a great jnani, But even then, one cannot capture Krishna. Austerity, one may do tapasya. Still, he cannot capture Krishna. One may be completely renounced. One may have taken vairagya, right? He may be renounced. He may have gone to the forest. He may have given up, rejected everything material. Still, he cannot capture Krishna. Only way to capture Krishna is by unalloyed devotional service, pure bhakti. That's the only way that we can capture Krishna. Krishna also says the same thing to Uddhava. And here also we read, no, Sukadeva Goswami also describes in chapter 9 that yogis, although yogis try to capture him by meditation, they cannot, they fail to capture him. But Yashoda was able to capture Krishna. And it's not that she was able to capture Krishna because Krishna is a small baby. It's not like that. Even though Krishna's body is that of a small child, still he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he was just a couple of days old, he killed Putana. So it's not that he's a small baby, so he has no strength. It's not like that. He is still, with all the strength, he is still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, let's continue with our story.
Mother Yashoda was always overwhelmed by the intense love for Krishna, not knowing who Krishna was or how powerful he was. Because of material affection for Krishna, she never even cared to know who he was. Therefore, when she saw that her son had become excessively afraid, she threw the stick away and decided to bind him so that he would not commit any further naughty activities.
So now she has caught him, and not only now she wants to tie him also with a rope so that he doesn't do more naughty activities. So she desires to bind him, right? And now see again, Sukadeva Goswami describes that she doesn't know that Krishna is God. She just has maternal affection for Krishna, and so she doesn't care that who he is, and she just wants to tie him up so that he doesn't further engage in any naughty activities. So the acharyas, I was listening to another class, and the acharyas explained that actually Yashoda is worried about Krishna's reputation, because Krishna is going out and stealing and robbing butter from other people's houses. So if he gathers a reputation of a thief, then when he grows up, who's going to marry him? So she is worried about his reputation. That's why now she wants to tie him up. Okay, let's see what happens.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no beginning and no end, no exterior and no interior, no front and no rear. In other words, he is all-pervading. Because he is not under the influence of the element of time, for him there is no difference between past, present, and future. He exists in his own transcendental form at all times. Being absolute beyond relativity, he is free from distinctions between cause and effect. Although he is the cause and effect of everything, that unmanifested person who is beyond the perception of the senses had now appeared as a human child. And Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope.
Okay, so now Sukadeva Goswami is describing Krishna, how he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has no beginning and no end. So what name of Krishna means that he has no beginning and no end, no exterior, no interior, no front and no rear?
Anand.
Ananta, yes, Ananta. The word Ananta means that he has no beginning and no end. What name of Krishna means that he is all pervading? All pervading? It starts with a V.
Virat.
No, not Virat. Virat is this universal form. But all pervading, he enters into the atoms, he enters into the heart of every living entity. What name of Krishna means that he pervades everything by his potency?
Viswarup.
No. Vishwarup also is that universal form.
Vishnu.
Okay, Vasudev. Okay. The word Vasudev means that he enters, he is all pervading. He pervades into every aspect of material and spiritual nature. So Vasudev means he is all pervading. Okay, come towards the end of the.
Vasudev, that is the son of Vasu, right?
Yes, also, yes. Also, that is another meaning of that name. Correct. That is also correct. Okay. So coming to the end of the paragraph. He is beyond the perception of the senses. Fourth last line, beyond the perception of the senses. What name of Krishna means that he is beyond the perception of the senses?
Rishikesh.
No, Rishikesh means he is the master of the senses, master of the senses. But perceptual senses means we cannot understand. There are so many things about Krishna that we cannot understand.
Perceive, yeah.
So beyond the perception of the senses, what name of Krishna means that?
Mataji, it is Govinda.
No, Govinda means he is the well-wisher of the cows. Govinda has three meanings: well-wisher of the cows, well-wisher of the land, and well-wisher of the senses. He gives pleasure to the senses, rather. He gives pleasure to the senses, pleasure to the land, and pleasure to the cows. But beyond the perception of the senses. It starts with an A.
Adidev.
Achyuta.
No. Achyuta means he is
Achyuta?
undefeatable. No. Achyuta means he is undefeatable.
Ashutosh.
No. Ashutosh means, Ashutosh is a name of Lord Shiva. It means that he is very easy to please. Okay, so the name is Adhokshaja. Okay, one of Krishna's name is Adhokshaja. It means that he is beyond the perception of the senses. So now Sukadeva Goswami is saying that how come this person who's Ananta, who's Adhokshaja, who is all pervading, he's beyond he's not under the influence of time, and such a person is going to be bound by Yashoda. How can that be possible? Okay, so it's something that again is beyond the perception of the senses. Okay, let's see what happens in 15.
When Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the binding rope was short by a distance, the width of 2 fingers. Thus, she brought another rope to join to it.
So she's trying to tie Krishna with a rope, but now the rope, she is not able to bring the ends of the rope together, and it has fallen short by 2 fingers. So now let's see what she does.
This new rope also was short by a measurement of 2 fingers, and then another rope was joined to it. It was still 2 fingers too short. As many ropes as she joined, all of them failed their shortness, could not be overcome.
So now she has brought ropes from the house. She has brought extra ropes and she is joining those ropes. But every time she brings the ends of those ropes together, she fails to join them because again and again they are falling short by 2 fingers. 2 fingers too short. So let's see what happens in 17.
Thus, Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the household, but still she failed with her attempt to bind Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elderly gopis in the neighborhood, were smiling and enjoying the fun. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder.
So now all these gopis and neighbors, they have all come to have fun, right? They're enjoying what's going on because it's so hilarious. And this went on for many, many hours that Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna, but every time it is falling short by 2 fingers. And now the gopis have come, the neighbors have come and they are smiling, they are enjoying the fun. So just see Yashoda's condition. She is laboring so hard to tie Krishna. And every time the thing is falling short by 2 fingers. But Yashoda has not given up. She continues to try. She continues to try to do it. Okay, let's read 18.
Because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration, and the flowers and comb were falling from her hair. When child Krishna saw his mother thus fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound.
This is the key word here. When Krishna saw his mother fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound. So we cannot bind Krishna by our will. Krishna agrees to come under his devotee out of his own free will, because Krishna is completely Swarat. He's completely independent. So nobody can put him under certain rules and regulations. Okay, now I did this, so you have to do this. No, Krishna's mercy is causeless mercy. There is no reason why he has to give us his mercy, but he gives us his mercy. And therefore here Krishna agreed to be bound. So if you read the Sanskrit of this verse, the word is Drishtva Parishrama. So Drishta, when Krishna saw Drishta, when he saw the parishram of his mother, then he agreed to be bound. So let's see, again, let's try to analyze. Now Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna and she's completely fatigued, right? So when we do our devotional service also, when we engage in devotional services, sometimes we may be also fatigued. We may also be tired. Now she is tired, she is fatigued, but she continues. Now, if one is working hard and is tired and the results come, at least then you feel a little bit of satisfaction that, okay, I have got my positive results. So all that fatigue, all that hard work is worth. But now Yashoda is facing failure. She has not even got success in her attempt. She has faced failure. So there is fatigue. That fatigue has followed by failure. But still Yashoda does not give up. Now, now that she has faced failure, now again she is facing that, people are having fun. So when we do our sadhana, when we take to spirituality, when we do devotional services, there may be people, our contacts, our neighbors, our friends, our relatives who make fun of us. Because not everybody appreciates people who take to spirituality. So they make fun. What are you doing? This is for old people, or this is not for you, or just enjoy life. So these are very common comments that one can hear when one takes to spirituality, right? So still Yashoda is completely oblivious. She is not allowing any of this affect her. The fatigue, the failure, the friends and the neighbors coming and enjoying the fun. She has not allowed any of this to affect her. She continues in her attempt to bind Krishna. So this is the lesson that we have to learn, that in our spiritual life, maybe we get tired, maybe we get fatigued, and maybe there is also failure. We may not be able to see the results as quickly as we would like it. Maybe we are chanting for so many rounds, for so many years, but we are not able to feel the nectar. We are not able to enjoy the chanting anymore. For even after so many years. So we may go through failure also, and people make fun of us also, but still we do not have to give up our devotional services. This is the lesson that we learn from this. The acharyas explain it like that. Okay, so then finally, Drishta Parishramam, when Krishna sees our parishram, when he sees that we are on track and we are working on it, right, continuously, that is what melts Krishna's heart. Then he sees, okay, then he agrees to be bound. Then Krishna comes under the control of his devotees. Okay, let's see what happens next.
O Maharaj Parishit, this entire universe with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in his pastime.
So see, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that even exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, they are under the control of Krishna. They are under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even Goddess Lakshmi, yes, even she cannot bind Krishna. Although Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune, but Yashoda has received that mercy which even great demigods like Brahma, Shiva, and even Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, did not get, which is that the Lord has agreed to come under the control of Yashoda. So when there is a competition between Krishna and his devotees, then Krishna agrees to come under the control of his devotees. He gets pleasure out of it. He allows it. Okay, let's do 21.
No, 20 we did not do.
Sorry, 20.
Neither Lord Brahma, nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The the deliverer from this material world, such mercy was received by Mother Yashoda. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but he is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self.
So Sukadeva Goswami repeats the same point, how he is not accessible to these other great personalities, but he's accessible to his devotees who are engaged in spontaneous loving service. Not that the service is coming out of, oh, I have to do it. No, it's spontaneous. It's flowing out of spontaneous love. Okay, after this, what happens? Let's see.
While Mother Yashoda was very busy with the household affairs, the Supreme Lord Krishna observed twin trees known as Yamala Arjuna, which is a former millennium, had been the demigod sons of Kuvera.
So
In their former
Kuvera, no, one second. So Kuvera had two sons, Manigriva and Nala Kuvera. And in the previous yuga, they were cursed by Narada Muni. So they were very puffed up with their opulence, and they were bathing with other damsels in the river. And Narada Muni was passing by. When Narada Muni was passing by, out of respect, the other women, they tried to cover themselves. But these two were so puffed up with their opulence, they did not care. They did not bother that Narada Muni is passing by. So it was like, so when there is a respected personality coming, then we do something to offer respect to the person. But they continued to do what they were doing, and they did not bother about Narada Muni. So therefore, Narada Muni cursed them to become trees. So they were in the body of the trees for so many years, several years. But when a great personality curses, that curse is actually a blessing in disguise. So although Narada Muni cursed them to become trees, the blessing was that they became trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, where Krishna is residing. Okay, so then Krishna has observed these twin trees. Now he is tied to that grinding motor, and he has observed these twin trees. Now let's see what happens.
In the former birth, these two sons, known as Nalakuvera and Manigriva, were extremely opulent and fortunate. But because of pride and false prestige, they did not care about anyone, and thus Narad Muni cursed them to become trees.
Okay, so this we've already discussed. Okay, so what happens is, this is in the next chapter. If you read the Bhagavatam, the following chapter, then there is a description of how Krishna, he crawls between the two trees. And as he's crawling between the two trees, he is ahead, but the grinding motor gets stuck between those two trees. And then Krishna moves forward, and the two giant trees come crashing down. And when the trees come crashing down, then Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, they are released from the curse, and then they go back home, back to Godhead. So this, you can read in detail in the Bhagavatam in the following chapter. So very interestingly, when Krishna is pulling there, the rope does not break. The trees come crashing down, but the rope does not break, because that is the rope of love of Mother Yashoda. Okay, another, we need to analyze this a little bit more. Now, Krishna has energies. He has unlimited energies, but he has 16 principal energies, or Shaktis, as we may say in Hindi. Now, why was there a delay? When Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna, there was a delay, right? Many hours have passed before Yashoda could finally bring the ropes together, before Krishna agreed that I am ready to be bound, and that's when the ropes could be brought together. Otherwise, they were falling short by 2 fingers every time. So the reason that there was a delay was because at that time, all these Shaktis, all these potencies of Krishna manifested, and they were not allowing Yashoda to bind Krishna. So in this purport, we have a detail of what these Shaktis are and what do they mean. Let us read the translation of the purport.
In translation, encircling the Lord and worshipping him were Nanda, Sunanda, and his mother and his other personal attendants, Sanaka and the other Kumaras, Brahma, Rudra, and other chief demigods, the 9 chief Brahmanas, and the best of the saintly devotees, headed by Prahalada, Narada, and Uparikara Vasu. Each of these great personalities were worshipping the Lord by chanting sanctized words of praise in his own unique mood. Also in attendance were the Lord's principal internal potency, Sri Putti, Gir, Kanti, Kirti, Tushti, Iya, and Urja, as were his material potencies, Vidya, Avidya, and Maya, and his internal pleasure potency, Shakti. Purport. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti explains the Lord's potencies mentioned in these verses. Sri is the potency of wealth, Pushti, that strength, Kir, knowledge, Kanti, beauty, Kirti, fame, and Tushti, renunciation. These are the Lord's 6 opulences. Ya is his Shakti and also known as Andini, the internal potency of whom the element earth is an expansion. Urja is his internal potency for performing pastimes. She expands as the Tulasi plant in this world. Vidya and Avidya, knowledge and ignorance, are external potencies who cause the living entities, liberation and bondage, respectively. Sakti is his internal pleasure potency. Hladini and Maya is an internal potency who is the basis of Vidya and Avidya. The word Ka implies the presence of the Lord's marginal energy. The Jiva Shakti, who is a subordinate to Maya, Lord Vishnu was being served by all these personified potencies.
Okay, so this is an incident when Kamsa had sent a messenger to Vrindavan to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. So when Krishna and Balaram were being taken in the chariot, this messenger went to the river to have a bath, and then he sees Lord Vishnu on Anantashesha, and he sees. So this why I put this shloka here is to just read about the potencies or the Shaktis of Krishna. So there is a detail of all these Shaktis of Krishna. He has unlimited, but these are the more principal ones. So when Yashoda was trying to tie Krishna, all these potencies that are mentioned here, Shri, Pushti, Gir, Kanti, Kirti, Tushti, Ila, Urja, all these potencies of Krishna were manifesting, and they don't want that Krishna is being tied up, because if Krishna gets tied up, then they will lose their service. For example, now fame, right? Kirti, the potency of Krishna, which means fame. Now, fame does not want that Krishna is tied, because then what will happen? The Supreme Personality of Godhead has been tied by Yashoda. So how his fame will get affected, right? So like that, these potencies of Krishna, these Shaktis of Krishna were preventing Yashoda from tying Krishna up. But then finally, one Shakti manifested, and that one Shakti was able to defeat all these other potencies, all these other Shaktis. What is that potency of Krishna that defeated all other Shaktis? That is Krishna's Kripa Shakti, or mercy potency. So one of Krishna's potencies is Kripa. So because of Krishna's Kripa potency, then all these other potencies then disappeared. They vanished because they were defeated. Right? And then because of Krishna's Kripa potency, then Yashoda was able to tie up Krishna. So when we get Krishna in our lives, then Krishna has the potency to change the rules of the game for his devotee. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Even when Krishna appeared in that jail of Kamsa, all the planets, they realigned themselves. Okay, the same thing applies to us. When we bring Krishna in our lives, then whatever we may have done in the past and whatever we may have in our karma in the future, everything can be rewritten. Krishna can change the rules of the game for his devotee. Everything can be overwritten. Everything can be rubbed off deleted in the past, and even in the future, whatever karma has to come, even that we can even change our karma. Krishna can change our karma. Just as how in the pastime of Jagai and Madai in Chaitanya Leela, Jagai and Madai were so sinful that Yamaraj's assistant Chitragupta had a tough time keeping record of the activities, the sinful activities of Jagai and Madai. The description given is that if there is a sin book with a list of all the sins that one can commit, they had performed every single sin that one can possibly commit. Okay, and it was getting too much for Chitragupta to keep track of their sinful activities. They were so sinful, so sinful. But when they surrendered to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, which are Krishna and Balaram, then everything was burnt off. Everything was zero. Okay, all those sins that they had committed, all those papers that were there, everything was just negated. Everything was brought to a zero. And when Yamaraj saw the potency of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, even Yamaraj fainted. Yamaraj fainted. If you read Chaitanya Leela, you can see that chapter. Yamaraj also fainted. And he was revived. He was later revived by Hare Krishna Kirtan. All the demigods gathered in Yamalok and they all did Kirtan. And that's how Yamaraj was revived from. His consciousness was brought back. So that's the Krishna's Kripa Shakti can ride over everything else. Okay, so now this Damodar Leela is a pastime of contradictions because Shastra says so many things, right? But this Damodar Leela overrides and has so many contradictions are there in this Leela. For example, Krishna is Atmaram, one who rejoices in the self. So what is a contradiction in this Leela? Who can say? Who can complete the sentence? Being Atmaram, one who rejoices in the self, still he, what? Dash.
I feel he's rejoicing in the this thing in Yashoda's joy. Basically, he's feeling happy in letting her win, kind of here. That would be the contradiction. It's not about him. It's about Yashoda here. Like he's making her happy.
Yes, yeah. One aspect of Krishna is that he likes to glorify his devotees. He likes to give credit to his devotees. It's not about him. It's about her. Yes, that is correct. But I have something else coming up.
Okay.
Was Krishna satisfied? One who rejoices in the self means he is completely satisfied. Was he satisfied? He is not in this Leela in the beginning. He wanted the milk, right?
Yeah.
So he is not self-satisfied in this Leela. He was still hungry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Being Atmakam, always satisfied, or to understand this better, let's say he is satisfied even with the most insignificant offerings. Krishna says in the Gita, no, that Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. We'll see that in chapter 9. So even with some leaf, some water, a little bit of fruit, Krishna is satisfied. So even with the most insignificant offering, Krishna is satisfied. But in this Leela, although he got milk from Yashoda, still he was dissatisfied. He wanted more, right? So this is again another contradiction. Now Krishna is Gunadish or Mayadish. He is the controller of the three modes. He is not under the influence of the three modes, right? He is beyond the three modes. In fact, he is the master of the modes. He is the controller of the modes. Still, who can complete the line?
He's being controlled by Yashoda.
Yeah, no. But Yashoda, when we talk about Yashoda, we are not talking about the three modes. Three modes means passion, ignorance, goodness. So where does Krishna show that it appears that he's under the influence of the mode of passion?
He was under the influence of anger.
When he was angry, but Krishna is showing that he is angry. So anger comes under the mode of passion. So how can Krishna be under the mode of passion? He cannot be under any mode. He is the controller of the modes. But even though he is Gunadish, Mayadish, still he was angry. Right? In 7.13, Krishna said that I am above the three modes, but still he is showing that he is angry. He is Lakshmipati, he is Madhava, he is the husband of the goddess of fortune. Still, what did he do?
Stole the butter.
He stole the butter. Yes, he is robbing butter. He is the husband of the goddess of fortune. He is the husband of Lakshmi, and still he is stealing. And what is he stealing? He is stealing butter. So this is another contradiction. Now he is feared by fear personified. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see such statements. The wind blows out of fear for Krishna. The sun shines out of fear for Krishna. The rivers are flowing out of fear for Krishna. The oceans do not cross their limits out of fear of Krishna. So he is feared by fear personified. Still, who can complete the sentence?
He was afraid of mother trying to come and beat him.
Exactly. He is afraid of that stick that Yashoda is holding in her hand. So this is a very, very unique pastime. Okay, a pastime full of contradictions. It's like we have to rewrite the rules. What's happening? Now he's Ananda Punja. He's full of bliss. He's full of bliss. Still,
He was crying.
yeah, he was crying. So he's crying. Crying means he's sad. If he is Ananda Punja, he is so blissful, then how can he be crying, right? So that's why we say Krishna is beyond the range of sense perception, cannot understand. So if you visit Vrindavan, you can go to this place. Even today, the Utkal or the grinding mortar to which Krishna was tied is still available. So if you visit Vrindavan, please make sure you go and visit this place. So Krishna has two aspects, right? Madhurya and Aishwarya, sweetness aspect and the opulence aspect. For most people, Krishna's greatness hides his sweetness, because when one knows, when one sees the universal form, one hears about how Krishna has killed the demons, how Krishna has protected Arjuna in so many different ways, and how Krishna is the husband, and how he is able to maintain 16,108 wives in 16,108 palaces in 16,108 expansions of Krishna. So for most people, his greatness, his opulence hide his sweetness. It's very, very important for us to understand the opulence of Krishna in the beginning. Why? Because when we understand the opulence, then we will appreciate even more the sweetness of Krishna. Because when that personality, that great personality, that opulent personality is getting scared of Krishna, of Yashoda's stick, or he's stealing butter from the neighbors' houses, then that sweetness will appear even more sweet. Then we can understand that sweetness even more. Right? Because otherwise, if we don't understand the opulence, the Aishwarya of God, then we will think that he's an ordinary boy. Because what that's happening even in everybody's houses, that the children are scared of the mother's stick, that the children are doing nonsense, they are naughty and they are stealing things. Then we will think that these are ordinary activities. So to be able to appreciate the sweetness, then we have to understand the opulence. But if we only see the opulence and not the sweetness, then the intimacy is not possible. So if we want to have an intimate relationship with Krishna, then we need to understand the sweetness. So for pure devotees, especially in Vrindavan Dham, Krishna's sweetness completely overshadows Krishna's opulence. The gopis, the gopas, his friends, Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, for them, the opulence is completely covered by Krishna's sweetness. But in Dwarka, it is Krishna's opulence that is more prominent. In Dwarka, in Hastinapur, in Mathura, the opulence is more prominent than the sweetness. That's why when Krishna went to Mathura and he killed Kamsa, and he is reunited with his parents, reunited with Devaki and Vasudev, they know that Krishna is God. Okay, so they are not like Yashoda, they are not under Yoga Maya initially. So they know that this person is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So although they have reunited with Krishna, they don't even embrace him. They don't even embrace him, because that respect, that reverence is immediately there in them. See, Okay, also when Arjuna saw the universal form of Krishna, then immediately his mood has changed. Let us see what Krishna told Arjuna when he saw the universal form.
I think Arjuna tells Krishna, thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you. O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories, please forgive. Whatever I may have done in madness or in love, I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses.
So see, Arjuna's mood has immediately changed after he saw the universal form. Now he's saying that I have dishonored you. Previously, we jested, we laughed and we joked together. We were on the same bed, we sat and ate together. So see how previously it was the sweetness of the relationship, but once he sees the opulence, then the mood of Arjuna has changed. Okay, this is from the past time when Krishna killed Kamsa, and then how the parents did not embrace Krishna. Let's read.
Then Krishna and Balarama released their mother and father from bondage and offered obeisance to them, touching their feet with their heads. Devaki and Vasudeva, not knowing Krishna and Balarama to be the Lord of the universe, simply stood with joined palms. Being apprehensive, they did not embrace their son.
So just see, Devaki and Vasudev, they are not even embracing Krishna because they are conscious that he is actually God. But then after this, when you read the following shlokas, then Krishna covers them with his Yogamaya potency. After that, then they embrace Krishna. Okay, let's read this quote from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj.
Krishna willingly accepted being caught by his mother because he wanted to show the world that he is subordinate to the love of his devotee, his own sweet will. When we say God is great, there are so many levels of understanding it. Yes, God is the supreme creator of everything that exists. Yes, God, by his will, can destroy everything that exists, the controller of all controllers. But the greatest of all the greatness of God is he is conquered and willingly accepts subordination to intimate love. That is Krishna Leela.
So see, the greatness of this Leela is Krishna is openly advertising that, look, this is how I can be conquered. Normally, we don't like to reveal our weakness to somebody else. We don't like to tell somebody else how they can conquer us. But here Krishna is telling how he can be conquered, and he's openly advertising it to the whole world. Look, I can be conquered. This is how you can conquer me. This is how you can bring me under your control. Yes. Now, are we willing? Do we have the desire to bind Krishna like Yashoda? Do we have the determination like Yashoda had, despite fatigue, despite failure, despite the neighbors and the other contacts making fun of Yashoda? Do we have the kind of determination to bind Krishna? That is the question that we have to analyze and we have to answer for ourselves. The ball is in our court. So let's read the glories of this Damodar Leela.
The Kartika Mahatmya from the Padma Purana further extols the glories of Kartika. They who, as a joke, serve Lord Hari during Kartika in Mathura will attain pure devotional service. What to speak of they who serve the Lord with faith and devotion? Padma Purana. Anyways, whenever one recites, one should daily offer a lamb to the Lord and sing the Damodar Ashtakam. One should also increase one's other devotional activities, especially hearing and chanting the names and pastimes of the Lord. All these practices will be quickly effective during Kartika. By offering a lamb during the month of Kartika, one burns away a collection of sins as big as Mount Meru or Mount Mandara. Of this, there is no doubt. A person who offers a lamb during the month of Kartika attains a result that can be obtained with even 100 yajnas or 100 pilgrimages.
So even a little bit of service that we do in this month of Kartik, we will get 1,000 times the benefit. So this is the time. It's like Srila Prabhupada gave this example of a store on sale. So when there is a sale, the store is giving away the same goods at a cheaper price. So usually one would have to pay more to get those same products. In the same way, in the month of Kartik is the month on sale, in which by doing a little bit of service, we get great benefit. And how to do, we will discuss. Okay, some more glories. Let's see.
Kartika is the best, the purest of purifiers and most glorious of all months. Kartika month is particularly dear to Lord Sri Krishna. This month is full of Vatsalya. Any vrata, even the smallest, will yield huge results. The effect of performing a Kartika vrata lasts for 100 lifetimes, whereas ordinary vratas only last for one lifetime. Srimati Radhika is the presiding deity of the holy month of Kartika. Rupa Goswami and others refer to Radharani as Kartik Devi. In other words, Radhika is the goddess of presiding deity of the Kartika Vrata. Padma Purana quoted by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Hari Bhakti Vilasa. Specifically in the month of Damodara, one should daily worship Lord Damodara and take bath early in the morning, give charity and follow a fasting vow. This is the duty of Vaishnavas. Hari Bhakti Vilasa 16:3 Skanda Purana. O son Narada, those Brahmanas who do not give charity in the month of Kartika perform sacrifice, chant japa, and fast for Lord Hari are the lowest of mankind. Hari Bhakti Vilasa 16:25 of Skanda Purana. O great stage, after giving up all varieties of religious functions, one should follow Kartika fast and listen to the narrations of Lord Sri Hari before his deity form. Hari Bhakti Vilasa 16:76 from Skanda Purana. Lord Brahma speaks to Narada. One rat, female mouse, has once burnt a ghee lamp which was offered by someone else on Ekadashi day. By doing so, she was achieved a rarely achieved human form and at last attained the topmost destination. Hari Bhakti Vilasa 16:129 from Skanda Purana.
So this is the month for us to maximize. So those who are not chanting, please chant, at least for this month, at least for this month, please chant. Those who are already chanting certain rounds, try to increase your chanting, try to maximize it during this month. Try to follow the two Ekadasis which come in this month. If you're not following all the Ekadasis, at least this month, this is the time to follow at least these two Ekadasis in this month. So however possible, please maximize your spiritual activities in this month to get several times the benefit. And stay away from any kind of sinful activity, because again, in this month, if we engage in any kind of sinful activity, then we get 1,000 times the karma also. So this is the month we have to maximize our spirituality and minimize our sinful activities. Okay, let's quickly read this.
Glories of offering a lamp in Kartika. In the Skanda Purana, Lord Brahma and sage Narada converse that the month of Kartika is very dear to Lord Krishna. When one offers a lamb during the month of Kartika, his sins of many thousands and millions of births perish in half an eye blink. Even if there is no mantras, no pious deeds, and no purity, everything becomes perfect when a person offers a lamb during the month of Kartika. A person who during the month of Kartika offers a lamb to Lord Keshava has already performed all yajnas, sacrifice for the pleasure of Lord, and bathing the rivers. The ancestry says, when someone in our family pleases Lord Keshava by offering him a lamb during the month of Kartika, then by the mercy of the Lord, who holds a Darshan Chakra in his hand, we will all attain liberation. One who either at home or in a temple offers a lamb during the month of Kartika, Lord Vasudeva gives a great result. A person who offers a lamb to Lord Krishna during the month of Damodara Kartika becomes very glorious, fortunate. No says exist anywhere in three worlds that will not be purified by offering a lamb to Lord Keshava during Kartika. A person who offers a lamb to Lord Damodara during Kartika attains eternal spiritual world when there is no suffering.
Okay, the last 5 days of the month of Damodar is called as a Bhishma Panchaka. And whatever austerity we do during the last 5 days of the month of Damodar is considered to have been done for the whole month, because those are the most potent days of the month of Kartik. So in Chile, Bhishma Panchaka falls on 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18th of November. And in India, Bhishma Panchaka is from the 15th to the 19th of November. So the last 5 days of Kartik are the most potent of the month of Kartik. Grandfather Bhishma Dev from the Mahabharata, he had fasted during these 5 days before he gave up his body. That's why this is called as a Bhishma Panchaka. So what we have to do, we have to offer ghee lamps to Lord Damodar. If you do not have a picture already, then please get one made so that you can offer ghee lamps to Lord Damodar. And how to offer the lamps, we will see in this video, short video.
Namami Sharamsa Chidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Bhrajamanam. Namami Sharamsa Chidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Bhrajamanam. Jasoda Bhiyonu Khala Paramrishtamatan tato drutta gopya Jasoda viyolukala dhavomanam Paramrishtamatan tato drutta gopya Namami Sharamsa Chidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Bhrajamanam.
Okay, and as we offer this, after we offer, we can recite the Damodar Ashtakam, which are prayers glorifying Lord Damodar. Let's hear the Damodar Ashtakam once. Offering respects to Srimati Radharani. Namo Radhikayai Tvadiya Priyayai. So we are offering respects to Srimati Radharani because Radharani is the presiding deity of this month of Damodar. Now, just as how if we have to get some papers passed in a government office or something like that, something has to be sanctioned. But if the papers or the file comes with the name of an influential person, with the recommendation of an influential person, then it can be sanctioned quickly, right? So like that, Srimati Radharani is that personality who recommends us to Krishna. That's why she completes our bhakti. We cannot bind Krishna without the blessings of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, she's a presiding deity of this month of Damodar, and therefore we offer respects. Namo Radhikayai Tvadiya Priyayai at the end of this Damodar Ashtakam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So what you can do is you offer ghee lamps to Lord Damodar, as I showed in the picture. It's 4, 2, 4 at the feet, 2 at the waist, 3 on the head, and then 7 times completely. And then we recite the Damodar Ashtakam. So what I usually do is I have these satay sticks, and I take a little bit of cotton and I wrap it around the corner like this. And then I dip them in ghee. So I make several for the whole month. And my husband, my daughter, and myself, all of us, we offer ghee lamps separately to Lord Damodar like this. It's more practical, but you can offer ghee lamps any which way you like. Of course, no problem on that. But make sure all of you in the family offer it. And in my house, anybody who comes to my house, any visitor, any guest, even my maid, she offers Damodar lamps. So it's a great way to engage as many people as possible. When we see, we have become fortunate. Yes. Now we have to try and make other people also fortunate. So it's a great way to engage other people also in this Damodar Leela. We cannot even, we can never guess the extent of the mercy that we can get from Krishna by offering these lamps and by encouraging others to offer these lamps. So please maximize it and please offer ghee lamps and do the most you can during this month. Maximize your sadhana.
How many lamps per day?
Yeah, preferably 2, morning and evening, if not at least once. At least once.
No, but
And
you told
those who
in
are
the
in
legs,
Santiago,
you know that in the charana, 4 lamps, something like that.
yeah, in the feet 4 times.
4
Then in
times,
the
okay,
waist,
okay. Not
waist,
4 lamps.
no. The same
Yeah.
lamp 4 times. 4 times
Okay,
in the feet, 4, 3, 2, and 7. Like that.
okay. Morning and evening, 2 times. You know.
Yes, preferably twice, morning and evening.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you're in Santiago, you can collect these lamps from me. I have several of them. So you can come and collect it from me. They are also dipped in ghee. They are ready. I can give you a picture of Lord Damodar, but you need to come and collect them from me. Okay, and if you're not in Santiago, then please make your ghee lamps or offer ghee. When they are in this form, it's easy for a visitor or anybody in the house to come. You just take one and offer it. It's more practical, but you can do it in any form you like. Okay.
And second day, that second time, because once you will light it, then it will burn, you know, the top, the stick.
Yeah, it will burn. You can just keep it. I bought some sand in a shop and I
Yeah.
keep it a bowl with sand. So I just put it in that. So it burns
No,
for
no,
some
it's
time
okay.
and it will
It's
get
okay. I understand. Any in that incense instant, it can work. But
Yeah.
the top will burn. Then second time again on the same top, we use the photo or no?
No. Once it is burned, then it is already offered. So then it has to be discarded. The stick has to be discarded. You use other ones. So I have
Okay. Like
you
incense stick, like, you know.
yes. You have to make like if you're offering twice in a month, then you need 60 of these.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Okay. Any questions?
And in India, we can light proper diyas.
Sorry, what's that?
Sorry.
Teja?
I said in India, we can light proper diyas, or we have to make these things. What are these sticks? I don't know.
No, you can light diya. The bottom line is you have to offer ghee lamps to Krishna. That's all. Now here abroad, it's the situation is a little different. And when they are like this, then each member, like you, your husband, your children, your in-laws, I don't know, any visitor comes to your house. So every time you don't have to take out ghee from that box and then melt it and put it in a diya, put the cotton. This is easy. So this is more practical. That's all. But you can do
What
it in
stick
the.
is this?
This is the satay stick, which they use in the ovens.
That satay stick. Okay. So this we get it in India, yeah.
Yeah, you
We
get it
a whole
everywhere.
packet.
Yes, you get it
But
everywhere.
India,
And
these sticks will be costly than the lamps. You know, lamps you will find, and that is in the because these sticks will be the Chinese. You know, it will be costly than the diyas in India.
No.
Yeah, it may, even if it costs money, but your spiritual bank account is getting credited greatly. So don't worry.
Directly,
That
directly.
Krishna will repay it several times over. So this is
Okay.
just, the thing is, if you have a guest who's come to us to pick up something, 2 minutes. Okay, you know what, you do this. I even do this program in my daughter's school every year. I go to the school, I take the sticks and I take some prasad, and every child lights this lamp. And I always tell them, because you're in a foreign country, if we bring religion, then they say you're promoting religion. So I tell them that this is for good luck. This is auspiciousness. So if you want good luck, you light the lamp. So all the children, they come and they light the lamp. Even the teachers, they participate. The teachers, the school staff, the children, everybody does. So as much as possible, please engage your contacts to follow this.
So make this and put like a cotton bud, put it on the top and dip it in the ghee, right?
Yes,
So
you can dip all of them in the ghee and keep them in like a flower vase kind of thing. And then every day, just take out one, light it. You dip it in ghee. All of them can be dipped in ghee and kept together.
Together, yes.
Yeah, it will
Ghee-
for many years also. Ghee doesn't get spoiled for many years also. So you can.
The
just-
ghee should be of that 8 cows from the Amul milk, you know? Amul dairy farm.
Yeah, the best ghee available you can use. Whichever is the best quality ghee. We make ghee in the house from butter, but you can use the best quality ghee for Krishna.
What was the name of the grass? I forget the name of grass.
Padma Gandha.
Padma Gandha.
grass.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't have that now.
And what if we are traveling and at times when we are out and we are not able to light the diya then?
No, if you're traveling, you take the photo, you take the diya. Anywhere you are, even if you're sitting in the car, you can offer. There is no excuse.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay,
And
okay.
so don't miss any of the whole month. Don't miss. If the woman is in a contaminated state for those 5 days in the month, then you request somebody else to light it on your behalf. So for example, if your husband is offering every day, now he has to do 2, one for him and one for you
For two, yes.
in your name. So you don't miss the count. So the whole month, don't miss.
And can you share that video on the group, like how many rounds on the feet and all?
Yes, I will share the link of that video and also the Damodar Ashtakam. So you can maybe print a copy and have it ready. Just
And
next to
also the
Ashtakam.
picture of Lord Damodar on the
Yes,
group.
yeah. Picture of Lord Damodar I already shared in the group, but I will share it again.
So if we go to an ISKCON temple, will we get that frame or a picture?
Oh,
Or
that
no?
that I don't know. I don't know if they would have that.
Tejasvi,
That
where
is-
are you?
Oh, you can get
remove it from Google and go to
Yeah.
the photo studio. They remove it and give you. I got a frame made.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get it printed in any photo studio.
Okay.
Mataji, can I add one point behalf of you?
Yes, Mataji, Vrinda Gopika, please.
Koti Koti Dandvat Pranam, Ajishinam Mataji, for your today's class, very, very inspiring class. Mataji, we don't have to, those who don't want to, we can use Srimati Sisi Tulsi Maharani's dry branches also. That is more auspicious, and we can find it from our home, and it is we can keep we can make the cotton wort, and then we can keep in our freeze. And yes, as Shina Mataji told, it is give a chance to all the Vaishnava, all the family members, all the friends, and we can take the photo from Google, Mavan Mataji said, and print out from Walmart or anywhere and make a frame and invite all the Vaishnavas or all the friends in your contact. Sometimes Vaishnavas are so sincere, so humble, but they are not ready to take Krishna conscious. So we are not forcing them, but we are engaging them to give a lamp. And trust me, the tears is not from their eyes. Please, please. And when we are out of the home, what we will do that. When we are going in the temple, that time there is an electric diya, $1 in Dollar Tree, and we can do it with electric diya. But trust me, its effect to our kids, our husband, our family member, our friends. They are so happy after end of this month, and we can make a nice prasadam, one pot prasadam, whatever it is, salad, fruit, whatever it is, and serve them. It's working. It's working. You feel so happy when you serve Vaishnava, and no need to extra money. We can find that Srimati Sisi Tulsi Maharani dry branches from our home, and we can cover and we can dip it in a ghee. No, not Amul ghee, whatever the auspicious things. जैसे हम दिवाली में अच्छे अच्छे कपड़े खरीदते हैं हमारे लिए, तो this is the we have to make a nice dress for Shishi Laddu Gopal. We don't, वो हमारे भाव देखते हैं, पत्रम पुष्पम फूलम, whatever capacity we have to offer them. And especially when we engage the Vaishnava in the service of Lord Krishna and Srimati Sisi Radharani in this month, like it's a bonus month, behalf of Shinam Mataji, that when we enter in Shidam Vrindavan Dham, one एक जो step होता है 1000 उसका multiply 1000 benefit होता है. So we are not able to go to the Shidam Vrindavan Dham, but as Shinam Mataji take us in Shidam Vrindavan Dham by his word, by his mind, by his sincere seva. So when we are hearing Krishna Katha, that place is Shidam Vrindavan Dham, and we all have to make Shidam Vrindavan Dham. We all have to share whatever we learn from Shinam Mataji. Then only Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani is so happy. Hari Hari Gauranga, behalf of Shinam Mataji, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for your kind words. Okay, so yeah, what Vrinda Gopika Mataji said, very important point. You can also use dry tulsi twigs. If you have dry tulsi twigs, then you can wrap cotton around the dry tulsi twigs and offer it. So it has even more effect. even more effect. But of course, not the leaves, dried. It should not be fresh twigs, only tulsi that has left the body, dry tulsi. Those twigs we can use to offer it to Krishna. Then of course, those, when once we use, we don't throw them in the dustbin. We cannot do that. So then you put it in the river or you dig it in the ground and you put them over there. Okay, but not fresh. Not that you have a living tulsi plant, dried ones, tulsi which has already left the body. Those twigs we can use to offer the ghee lamps to Krishna. Okay.
And they cannot be reused, right? We need to make fresh ones. The twigs also cannot be reused.
Yeah, you cannot, because it's already been offered. It's
Ah.
that now it
It
is
is-
already prasad.
If you want to get reused by Krishna, then reuse. If you want to be
Just finding so many tulsi twigs is difficult. A few you can find. That's the reason why I asked, can we reuse that?
Yeah, or if you have only a few, then you use them for Bhishma Panchaka. Keep them for Bhishma Panchaka.
Okay, the last 5.
Yes. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
And Tulsi Vivaha is also during this period, right? The Kartik month during Diwali.
Yeah, a lot of festivals come during this month. Srila Prabhupada disappeared during this month. There is Govardhan Leela that happened during this month. Actually, this Damodar Leela took place on Diwali day. The day Yashoda bound Krishna was
Oh.
Diwali actually. So many auspicious festivals come during this month of Kartik.
Okay.
Okay, what else?
Mataji, 1 second with your permission. Try to do fasting, one time eat prasadam, so that we can become more active. Don't feel, we cannot feel like a weakness or nothing. Take lots of fruits and green juice and take prasadam one time only, so that we will become more active to read Krishna Katha, to hear Krishna Katha, and it's directly affect what we are doing in a morning japa. And if we do 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever round we are doing, please increase 2 more rounds, 3 more rounds. No need that directly jump on 16 round. Try 2, 4, 6, slowly try to go up. So it's working. You feel more light, and you will, whatever, our kids are just following us. We are the example of our family. So whatever we do, they also join with our activity, whether it's fasting or whether it's seva, or whether we are making dress or making ornaments or whatever little seva, cooking prasadam in a bunch and give it to homeless Vaishnava. So whatever seva we are doing, multiply 1000, we get the benefit. Not we are doing seva for the benefit, but our kids learn, our family learns, our friend learns from us. So we are the example for our family, our friends, our kids. So whatever seva, little fruits, even we can give a banana and apple and water to the trash people. Start from there. Give a foods to birds outside our home, backside and front side. All that small thing is working. We feel so happy after doing all this seva. Dandavat pranam, behalf of Shrina Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
वृंदा जी, सेवा तो ठीक है, पर भूखे भजन होए ना गोपाला, ले ले तेरी कंठी और माला. Actually क्या है ना, ये भूख वाला जो काम है, it is very difficult for that, because in this Western countries is not, substitutes not are available. इंडिया में तो फास्टिंग डे में आपको पूरे दिन खुशबू मिलती है किचन में, तरह तरह की चीजें बन जाती है सब्स्टिट्यूट में. यहाँ पे बड़ी मुश्किल है कि हम फास्टिंग जो है उसको बहुत कंट्रोल करके ही मैनेज करना पड़ता है. इट रियली गिव्स द वीकनेस. तो बाकी तो है, हरे कृष्णा से.
Prabhuji, our tummy also need a rest. This body is also one temple, and when we have to clean this body, Srimati Shri Radharani and Lord Krishna is sitting in our heart. So Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Motsa, everything is there. So Lord Balram is a Guru Deva. So he is digging. उनका जो हल है उससे वो digging करते हैं. When this body of the temple is clean, then only Srimati Shri Radharani and Lord Krishna is sitting on our heart. So this fasting is important by scientific way also and spiritual way also. Prabhuji, trust me, it's work, Prabhuji. We have lots of fruits in this country, lots of green juice we can make it, and one time you can eat grains in evening time. When we feel so light and When we feel light, spiritually also, you get up early in the morning and you engage yourself in Srimati Shri Radharani and Lord Krishna's service. And whatever we are doing, our kids are following Prabhuji. We are the live example for our kids. If I made any mistake, please forgive me. Koti
Nice,
koti
okay.
dandat
Hare
pranam,
Krishna,
Sri
sis.
Mataji.
Okay, so anyway, the bottom line is you do as much as you can. Don't torture yourself. The idea is not to torture ourselves. The idea is to transcend. Okay, so sometimes we torture ourselves so much that we forget that what's the bottom line. So yes, fasting is very beneficial, but if our health does not permit, or we are not used to fasting, I understand that not all of us are used to fasting. Fasting, as Vrinda Gopika Mata said, even scientifically it is proven. There is a Japanese scientist who got a Nobel Prize to say that those who fast every 15 days for 36 hours, then their health improves, because the new cells eat the old cells when the body goes into fasting mode. So he got a Nobel Prize for that. But Krishna said that this is Ekadasi several million years ago. Okay, so yes, it is correct. But if the body is not used to fasting, then slowly, gradually we can do it. We don't have to be so mad also that we start to torture ourselves. So whatever we can, maximize it in our own capacity in this month. But the least minimum, offer ghee lamps to Lord Damodar, sing the Damodar Ashtakam, and engage as many people who, when they come to the house, to offer the ghee lamp. This minimum definitely we can do. And chanting as much as you can. If you're not chanting already, please chant. And if you're chanting less, then chant more. At least for this 1 month, let us maximize it for our own benefit. Who else is going to benefit? We are only going to benefit. So that's the bottom line. Okay. All right, then I think it's been a very long session, and we need to get going. If you have any
Really, we enjoyed.
if you have any further
Really,
questions or doubts, you please message me in the group or personally. And if you're in Santiago, you can come and collect the sticks and the pictures from me. Just message me and we can coordinate. Okay.
okay.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Have a
Hare
nice
Krishna
day.
to everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
the
Hare
best for
Krishna.
Damodar
Koti koti
month.
dandat pranam, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for your
Hare
suggestion,
Krishna,
Mataji.
Suresh.
Thank you.
Thank you.